What is up, everyone? The Brothers Williams back again with another What Makes It Great video. Today we're going to be reviewing the new Spider-Man movie that we just saw today. So we're not going to compare it to the DC movies because that's a completely different animal. So what we're going to focus on is why this is a good Spider-Man compared to the previous Spider-Man, and how this is different from some of the other Marvel movies that have come out in the last few years.
Yeah. So this Spider-Man, it had, so I guess Spider-Man Homecoming in general, it had a different vibe from a lot of the other Marvel movies. I feel like that has to do with Peter Parker being much younger than any of the other Avengers kind of characters. They're all adults, middle-aged, basically, and
younger than any of the other Spider-Men at this point.
Yeah, which I think was a good move, but just overall it had a very different feel. Lots of comedy, lots of like smart alecky kind of things, which I felt was very true to the comic books of how Spider-Man is. He's always got like a quick, quip to throw in there, throw at people, throw at the villains and things like that. So, your take, my take, is that we want to do what you thought of it, then what I thought of it?
Sure, let's go with that.
Okay. So, I thought that it was really good. I wasn't expecting a whole lot, just because I'm not admittedly a huge Marvel fan. I know, right? Cardinal sin. But I really did enjoy Spider-Man Homecoming. It was lighter, comedic, like I said, but it also kind of dealt with some interesting like coming of age issues that you don't really see in a lot of Marvel movies. And I think that they made a really good choice with taking Peter Parker to freshman year. So you get to see the kind of evolution of Spider-Man, not just like in one film, but he's there, it's his freshman year, and he's trying to figure himself out, trying to figure out what being Spider-Man means, and things like that, which I thought was really cool, because a lot of times I feel like in some of the Marvel movies, the sequence of going from not knowing what you're doing to being pretty proficient is really quick. And this, you get to see Peter Parker struggle and try to be that hero that he really desperately wants to be. And you see that Spider-Man just doesn't mean being a hero to him. It means like social status and things like that, where he's like, I'm competent, I can do things, people like me as Spider-Man. He's in a sense using it as a crutch to kind of run away from who, Peter Parker, the the awkward kid who gets bullied at school, which I think is a really interesting thing just from like a movie standpoint. And also, I really like the villain in this one. He's not like the stereotypical villain I feel that a lot of the other Spider-Man movies have, where okay, they're just a regular person, then suddenly they get genetically mutated, or they get these cool gadgets, and then they're like out for themselves, and then they either want to destroy the world or destroy Spider-Man.
Kind of this huge leap there.
Yeah, they go from like, oh, a mercenary kind of thing to like, I need to kill Spider-Man. Whereas this one, the guy's got like a code. Spider-Man, he saves his daughter, and he's like, okay, I'm not going to kill you, Spider-Man, but if you ever mess with me again, I'll kill you. And then at the end of the movie, spoiler alerts, he's in jail, and one of the other guys says, hey, I hear you know who Spider-Man is. You want to tell me his real identity, and we'll have some guys go take care of him? And he's like, If I knew, I'd have already killed him. Because Spider-Man saves him. And so he's got like that internal code that he abides by, which I think is really cool with the villain because he is a character. He's not a caricature of a villain, you know, where it's just like, oh, I'm evil now, so Spider-Man has to kill him. He's this guy. He's been screwed by the system. He wants to give a big middle finger to the system and get rich, you know, and take care of his family. But he's not going to go crazy over it. Like, he'll make some impulsive decisions as he goes along, but he's a really kind of gray villain, I feel. Yeah, so those are my impressions of the film. I think it was a really well done film. I think the scripting was really well done, and the acting was really well done. So I think that those are really the strong points of the film. I don't think it's necessarily particularly artful, but you don't necessarily need that for every film.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'd have to agree with a lot of what Kyle said. I wasn't expecting too much going in just because Marvel tends to be fairly predictable for the most part. But this was certainly a major step away from Marvel's formulaic way of doing the films. It didn't feel like it was like any other Marvel film. It felt like it was its own thing, which was a good step in the right direction for Marvel, I think. And as far as Spider-Man compared to the previous Spider-Man, this kid did a really good job, I think. When I think of Spider-Man as far as the voice and character, I tend to think of the character that Drake Bell voiced in the Disney TV show, which had a lot of the quips and the one-liners, that quick wit.
The little zingers.
Those things that weren't there in the other Spider-Man films. And it was something that I enjoyed. Something else I really liked was the idea of not only the coming of age, but the adult figure in his life that he looked up to. In this particular instance, Tony Stark. And this whole time, he's just trying to impress Tony and be... he wants to become an Avenger. And he's doing all this stuff to try and get Tony's attention, show him that he's ready. Like we all do when we're teenagers. We want to show our parents or whoever that we look up to that we're ready for the responsibility and that we can handle it. And, you know, sometimes it doesn't work out like we want. And then the adult figure kind of becomes the antagonist for our story, and that's what happens with Peter. Iron Man is, well, kind of a jerk to him. And that was an interesting way to see that character, because we all love Iron Man. But for Peter, he was this guy who he looks up to, but he's a total wad to him. And you can't help but feel for Peter and want him to succeed because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at Peter Parker as a character where, especially in this version of Spider-Man, he's really young when his parents die.
Yeah.
You know, when he's taken in by Aunt May. And so, like, you know, and Uncle Owen, you know, dying and things like that. Like, he's really young. So he really craves that approval. And you really see that in the film, is that he's looking for, you know, Happy's approval, Iron Man, and, you know, as a way to get Tony Stark's approval. And it's really interesting that as by the end of the movie, when he finally gets that approval for having like gone out and done this thing, that he doesn't do exactly what Tony Stark would like him to do. He starts forging his own path and having that his own internal approval that he knows he's doing what's right and what he feels is good, which really ties the title of the film. We were both like, Homecoming didn't seem like it was that important, but it's really the homecoming of Spider-Man coming back from like trying to go out and be an Avenger and save the world to, yeah, I'm gonna be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and take care of my little corner of the earth for now, and making that conscious decision to come home, really.
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite Spider-Man, I think.
Yeah,
as far as thematic and movies.
I would definitely agree with that. It's definitely my favorite Spider-Man film. It really, I feel, captures the essence of the character of Spider-Man, and I think it does a very interesting take on Peter Parker with him being so much younger, and we get to see that struggle and that growth happening.
Yeah, not only that, but it was a step away from other Spider-Man films where they're almost all start out with an origin story. We didn't have that this time. He was already Spider-Man. He already had all the things that made him Spider-Man happen. It was just defining what Spider-Man meant to him.
Yeah. Yeah, because the origin story is like we all know his origin story. He was bit by a spider, a radioactive spider.
He lost his uncle.
Yeah, and this one, it's just very. I think it's very refreshing to see a character dealing with the aftermath. You know, like things happen to us in our lives, and in the moment, it's all very, you know, oh wow, this happened, and the story is really, really intense. But then dealing with it day to day is really where it comes in to focus.
It's where it defines the person as well as the character.
Because things happen to us in our lives, and we get to decide what we make of them. And that was really what Spider-Man Homecoming was all about, is things have happened to him. He's gone and done things. Now what does that mean? What does that mean to Peter Parker? What does Spider-Man mean to Peter Parker? You know? So I thought that was really cool. Good use of like symbols with this Spidey suit.
Yeah.
Being a symbol of like what he wants. Like, because he's like, oh, I need this suit I need that suit or I'm nothing. And Tony Stark says, well, if you need this suit, then you don't deserve it. Like, if you're nothing with this suit, then you aren't anything anyway. And so it's really interesting when he is, you know, crushed and there's the Spidey suit, like, in the water half submerged, and he's seeing his own reflection. And he's like, no, I'm gonna do this. That almost, it's not what other people have defined him as. That he's not taking this mask to hide things or to enable him to go out and do these great things, but that he's got it himself within him, and that's what that means to him.
That's the strength of Peter Parker. That's the strength of Spider-Man. It's his own active decision. He didn't have some mentor or whoever come in and say, hey, here's what you should be doing with this.
Yeah, and now you're a hero, now you're a good guy, you know?
He doesn't need the world's permission to do what he does.
Yeah, and he really comes into his own in this film, which I think was really good, really refreshing with the Marvel universe. Yeah. So
yeah, definitely go out and see it if you get the chance to. I recommend it.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend seeing it in theaters. It's a fun experience. Can be a little bit long-winded. I felt it kind of lagged in the middle. I was just like, come on, let's get going. But I mean, other than that,
it was good.
It was a good film, very good film. So hit us up with likes, comments. Tell us what you think of the film. Maybe you disagree with us. Maybe you agree with us.
If there's something you would have changed about the film, tell us. We'd like to hear about it.
Put that down in the descriptions below. Other than that, we'll see you guys in the next video.
And that, as they say, is that.